Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hello, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 14, Whispers. In this episode, O'Brien runs from a conspiracy that has taken a hold of Deep Space Nine and the Federation in general, only to discover that he is unknowingly the conspirator.
A twist I didn't see coming at all.
Yeah, this one is clever.
I kept worrying throughout the episode it was going to be a stupid resolution. He kept replicating coffee, Jamaican blend, double strong, double sweet, and I thought, oh no, is that somehow contaminated and that's messing up his mind? That's really dumb. But then they went with something very clever.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of how sci-fi can really do stories that you can't do elsewhere. It was... it's really clever. I really love this one. I've been looking forward to it.
It's just a great episode, and they executed it really well. I don't really have major complaints with this one.
Yeah, I really don't have that much to say. It kind of speaks for itself. I didn't write down any kind of criticisms or anything because it's too engaging. I couldn't really spot anything that they flubbed very obviously.
So what do you have written down?
Well, all I wrote down is rule of acquisition 194. It's always good to know about new customers before they walk in the door. Which is strange that that's actually so high.
Well, are they numbered in order of importance?
You would think so. That would be fairly standard for rules, wouldn't it?
But one of the rules is to keep your enemies on their toes, and maybe the rules want to keep you on your toes. If they're ordered in levels of importance, maybe you would pay more attention to just the front end and ignore the back end. So it's a mix.
I guess.
I really liked how we're tipped off that Quark knows something is wrong, or at the time I thought something was wrong with Quark, because he doesn't just rattle off the rule of acquisition with his usual confidence and precision. He says it's one of the high numbers, I think, 194. And that lets us know immediately something's different with Quark. Or we think something's different with Quark. We know something's wrong.
Yeah, everyone was acting off. Apart from Cisco, he seemed really fluid and normal, which kind of makes sense because he's good at messing with people, so he took it in stride. Everyone else was odd. Keiko was odd, although O'Brien just sort of said, yeah, fair enough.
I actually want to compliment Keiko. Well, Keiko's actress, whose name I don't know right now.
Rosalind Chow?
I never thought of Keiko as a warm character to begin with, but she is considerably colder in this episode. And so I want to give her credit for actually distinguishing how Keiko acts in this episode versus others. And it makes sense. She has this intruder in her home trying to feel her up.
Yeah, that would be kind of terrifying. The look in her eyes when he kisses her and she's like, okay. And then she's like, no. Yeah, she is a good actress. For sure. I mean, all the actors are good on Star Trek. They wouldn't get a gig on a multi-season TV show if they weren't pretty good.
But we always bag on Keiko. Well, I guess we bag on the character, not the actual actress.
The fact that we bag on the character just means that actor or actress is doing a good job, often.
The close-ups during that possible murder stew scene.
Murder stew?
Yeah, the murder stew, which we later find out was not murder stew.
We don't know. Probably not.
I doubt Cisco would allow murder stew to be served.
Well, not necessarily laced with poison, but it could have been laced with something.
Anyway, I really liked the close-ups during that scene. They're really effective. Just seeing the differences between Keiko and O'Brien and their expressions.
Yeah, it's really claustrophobic. It's suffocating seeing how close it gets.
Yeah.
O'Brien is quite a practical guy. The whole station was after him. Invasion of the Body Snatchers style, and he managed to escape multiple times.
Which I would expect from O'Brien. I mean, if you asked me, do you think O'Brien could outsmart the crew and escape? Unequivocally, yes.
Well, demonstrably now.
Yeah.
I liked it when he dropped the gun and he just looks down and you hear it rattling really far down the shaft and he just keeps going.
Oh, I really like that scene. It was an inventive use of that set piece. We've seen that same vent so many times now. And now they thought, oh, let's just turn it on its side. And it actually changed the camera angles they use and how that felt. It was nice.
Yeah, the dropping the gun was great because it gave it a real sense of height and danger. And there's no need for it. I mean, he got another gun from the ship anyway, so it was a nice little touch. It made it seem more real than him just climbing one ladder again and again.
Yeah. This episode was a really nice change of pace. The feeling of it was different. The surrounding paranoia and how it unfolds. It's just overall really good.
Yeah, it must have been difficult to construct because it's so focused on O'Brien by necessity. So they can't show you anything other than O'Brien's perspective or it'll give the game away.
Right.
So, I mean, my notes for the plot is just O'Brien's doing this, O'Brien's doing that, O'Brien's doing this. It's noticeable when you write it down, but it's strange to see an episode that's fixated on one character to such an extent. And hats off to Cole Meany for doing his now well-tested, kind of exasperated face.
Now we know that face can carry an episode.
Oh, it could carry every episode.
I didn't think the focus on O'Brien was weird while watching it.
No, it's not.
Even before the reveal, because it's established that everyone else is weird. O'Brien's the only normal one, so seeing anyone else interact would be strange.
Yeah, it's very natural. It's just odd from the sort of content of the episode. Most episodes, even if they're about one character, like 20% of the scenes are about other stuff, just to keep you fresh and stop you from getting overwhelmed. But of course, this episode is about O'Brien being overwhelmed, so
yeah, it works in its favor.
Yeah, and I can confirm it's still very effective, even when you know exactly what the resolution is.
It's cool that we're tricked into thinking we know partially what's going on. We think, okay, O'Brien's normal, everyone's not, everyone else isn't. And O'Brien knows, we think O'Brien knows more than we do because we're told a lot of this in flashback. And in other episodes, a lot of times we know what's going on, and we think the crew are dumb for not figuring out things quicker. But I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well, there's no way O'Brien could have worked out that he was actually a replicant O'Brien. So it's just well put together. It's just really well put together.
And I kept worrying, too, that how is this going to resolve? And I was convincing myself that it would not be worthwhile, but I was totally wrong.
Yeah, there's a twist you can't see. It's just given that the narration is honest, but of course you've got a dishonest narrator here, but he doesn't know he's dishonest, and in fact he isn't being dishonest because he was still exactly as O'Brien. He hadn't reached his sleeper agent programming yet. It makes so much sense as well. It's weird actually how they're talking about the replicant as he is lying there dying on the floor.
Oh man, seeing yourself die, even though it's a replicant, would mess you up.
Well,
he knows what his dying words would be.
Well, in that context,
that's weird information to have.
I suppose you'd see your own dead face. Well, no wonder it happened to O'Brien. He's always the guy that has crappy things happen to him.
Yeah, as he's watching himself die, I thought, of course this is happening to O'Brien.
It's weird how inhuman they treat him when he says, tell Keiko. He says, well, tell Keiko what? Like, as if the fact that he's a replicant, I guess they expected him to be more like a sort of robot or something.
It is weird, and they just shoot him and don't really care.
They care a bit. Cisco asks for Bashir to help, but I guess there's nothing he could do. But yeah, they were very spooked by the whole thing. It's weird. They're both staring at each other in understanding, but they're treating him like a malfunctioning machine, and he's trying to gasp out his dying words. It's a good note to leave the episode on as well.
Why do you say that?
Well, they're tempted to wrap these things up with some overly explanatory conclusion, which ends with everyone having a hearty chuckle.
It would be difficult to segue from murdering someone into a hearty chuckle.
Just cuts to them all in quarks and O'Brien saying, and then I saw myself die, and then everyone roars with laughter. Camera pans out. Yeah, not so much. But it's a good cold close, which is kind of a film noir sort of thing, isn't it? Cold opens and cold closes. Just end it when it ends. The classic one is Blade Runner, which is also about replicants.
Yeah, drawing that comparison is inescapable once you bring up that word.
If anything gets to the point of drawing comparisons to Blade Runner, I think it's already succeeded.
Fair enough.
And this whole episode was very Philip K. Dick as well.
I could imagine he wrote a story with a similar twist.
Almost certainly. This episode is like a homage to Dick. It's never not going to be funny.
Oh, you. That reminds me. O'Brien describes his letters to his wife as sexy.
Well, who knows? It's already kind of implied that Keiko is mental in the bedroom. She'll do literally anything. Twice.
Where are you gathering that information?
There's no direct evidence other than they seem to always be angry.
Evidence.
They're always angry with each other, yet subtly hint about having bedroom fun. So all I can conclude is they just go mental in the bedroom. They got harnesses set up.
That explains why he so matter-of-factly called them his sexy letters.
Yeah, they were pure filth. Okay, maybe this is just my headcanon.
Maybe.
Every time Keiko appears from now on, I'm going to be searching for the tiniest shred of evidence that they have an advanced sex life.
Did you see that gleam in her eye?
You see the 28-inch sex toy reflected in her eye, covered in spikes and on fire?
No, I missed that.
Oh, I'm sure it was there. I may have to edit some of this.
Yeah, probably.
I'll leave it in. So, I don't have that much to say. I mean, they nailed it, so what is there to discuss?
Not much, except how exceptionally well it was nailed.
It was totally nailed.
How about that time Cisco said, I really dropped the ball, and he had a ball in his hand, in case O'Brien didn't know what a ball was.
It was Cisco being humorous.
Yeah, that was totally in line with Cisco being Cisco.
Well, baseball got erased from history. Maybe balls in general. They got rid of balls.
They have no conception of balls.
People walk into his office and say, my God, that object is a perfect sphere.
What is that spheroid? That's stitched.
I've never seen anything so circular. Every way you look at it, it's round.
What would you call such a thing? Oh, I thought of another thing I liked. So Odo is not part of the crew when O'Brien first returns. So he comes in later, and then O'Brien thinks he's fine, and then he interacts with him again, and something seems off. So then we think Odo's been corrupted somehow. It just furthered the that's not a word. It just
furthered is a word.
Oh, okay. It just furthered what they were trying to do and accomplish, and it worked really well.
Yeah, it really. There was a set of 3 instants. First Odo, then Jake, then the Admiral at Starfleet, which really made it feel Invasion of the Body Snatchers, as if people were turning against him.
Yeah,
exponentially. And having Odo turn up late really helped nail that, because he's the one guy you expect to not be affected, both physically because he's so different and mentally because he is so stoic in his viewpoint. Yet he just changes along with the rest of them, obviously because he found out what's going on. And
yeah,
ironically, if O'Brien had gone with them, they probably could have sorted it out.
But then we wouldn't have this great episode.
Well, yes. I'll teach them not to try and arrest O'Brien.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that he's actually such a great guy as well. At no point does he think it's about him. He is always saying that it's the Paratus rebel, or something to do with the Paratus peace talks. And he does everything he can to try and save the peace talks, in a way.
Good guy, O'Brien.
But who cares? He's a replicant. He can die on the floor. Ugh.
I have a quote if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, let's do that.
I can play hide and seek with the best of them.
And who said that? Oh, O'Brien.
Yes. I like that line because it's supposed to be a sort of tense moment, and he's bringing up hide and seek. It's like someone bragging they can read Cat in the Hat really quickly or something. I really isolated and removed of context. It's a really funny line.
It's difficult because Cat in the Hat's really long.
So maybe that is something to brag about, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's actually interesting you mention that, because there was a scene cut just before then where he was singing on the runabout and then sent a message to the runabout that was chasing him of just him singing a song. about being defiant. But they cut it because they flubbed up the name of the runabout. He sent the transmission to the Rio Grande, but that was the runabout he was in. He was being chased in the Mekong, which replaced the Ganges, which got blown up in the last episode.
Yeah.
So because they messed up the runabout name, they had to cut that scene.
Aw. So your criticism is that there isn't more of this episode?
I have one thing I can criticize. He builds a flashbang from stuff from his toolkit that assembles into a flashbang.
Yeah.
What? They just have grenade parts in their toolkits?
He's MacGyver.
Fair enough. Okay, well, I think we can move on.
Yeah, this episode was nailed.
Yes, I'm sure we'll always carry the weight of this episode with us for the rest of time. What does that mean? I don't know.
I was about to ask. I thought you were making like a pallbearer joke because people say last nail in the coffin? Or is it, no, that's not the saying.
This conversation is over.
This conversation was not nailed. Anti-nailed.
Yeah, that's it. The end. Go home.
Yes. Goodbye.